Redline logbook here for Wistoria chapter 34. And we start off with Will in the colorless zone, currently studying, trying to figure out all kinds of magic, when a couple of other colorless show up and ask him if he'd like to join them in the dungeon. And he's about to say yes, that's when Julius shows up and says no, he's going to be training with me. And Will at this point is like, wait, when did we make those plans? And Julius then tries to pull on Will's heartstrings by basically saying, well, we went through a lot together. We survived in the dungeon and such. I do consider us friends. And of course, Will has that weakness where anyone calls him friend, he's kind of desperate. And then we see Julius's monologue, which is him still being a scumbag, where he wants to use Will to make himself look good for Elfie, so this way she would accept him into her faction. And so Julius is all excited the fact that he's going to use Will to get ahead, and Will's all excited that he has a friend who's going to help him train. And Kiki is disappointed in both of them. Will then activates his Weiss, which is just the name for his magic sword, and of course he's using Julius's ice. And then Julius creates a bunch of guardians, but they're weak guardians that can barely hold their own. But as long as the attack isn't too heavy, they should survive. And that's the whole point of this training. Will is going to learn how to activate Weiss on his own without using other people's magic. Obviously, Will thinks it's ridiculous because he can't use magic, but Julius's plan is very simple. Will is going to keep Weiss active forever, and the way he's going to do that is by reducing the power of Weiss from 100% down to 1%, or even 1,000%. This way, he can keep the power going even as he sleeps. And then when it's time to fight, he then ramps it up back up to 100%. So this way, he always has magic on hand, always can activate Weiss. And that's why Julius's very weak guardians are a perfect test dummy, because what Will is going to do is he's going to weaken his power to the point where when he hits the guardian with his sword, it doesn't shatter. That's the whole point. He has to hit the little guardian birds and not kill them, because if he does that, that means his Weiss is down to a level of power that is sustainable. Will then realizes that Julius is actually really smart and he deserved to be in the top 3 for as long as he was. It's beginning to click in Will's head why Julius was able to figure out Elfie's spell and do all kinds of amazing things. He really is a very intelligent mage. Will then compliments him about being such an amazing mage and is surprised that he wasn't able to get picked. And of course, Julius knows why he can't get picked, but Will doesn't. For some reason, Will is still clueless about this, and he basically starts screaming at Will, blaming him for not being able to move ahead. Iris is currently having a meeting with Elfie, and she's demanding why Elfie doesn't move Julius up into her faction. He clearly belongs there, and as a watcher, Iris can't just allow someone as talented as him just fall to the wayside. And Elfie's response is, as Julius suspects, she's mad about all the things he said about Will and her, and she doesn't like him. Very personal. Elfie then immediately changes the subject onto Aaron and asks what he thinks of Will, and Iris' response is, whatever happens, happens. Basically, Aaron doesn't really care if Will moves up, but at the same time, he won't stop him if he does. It just is what it is. Aaron will use him as he sees fit. Then we learn something about the Weiss ability that Will has, and while a lot of Magic want to know what it is, and obviously Finn knows everything about it, the information about it is apparently extremely secret, because Sarissa tried looking it up. Like, she's the right hand of a Magiwanda, but she couldn't find any information. She basically found the bare minimum that people know already, not the why this power is so mysterious and powerful, anything like that. It's just an irregular that she doesn't understand. And while Sarissa is currently thinking about this, Iris decides to then poke the bear, saying that if Will can't be accepted by any factions, then she'll take him in. And as you can imagine, Elfie didn't like that. So we go back to the training with Will and Julius. They've been going for a while, and Will's figured out a few weaknesses of his ability, which is that he can only keep the power going for 50 minutes at max, and once the power disappears, once Weiss deactivates, it drains a ton of his energy, which means he's at full capacity when it's activated, but once it's no longer on, he's down. Other than figuring out the weaknesses, he hasn't been able to improve it at all. He keeps destroying all of Julius's little guardians because he can't get the power down enough. Will then suggests that they should take a break so he can go try looking for information on Weiss. And if he can't find it in the library, he can then at least go to a higher mage and get even better books in a better library. And that's when Julius says, I'm already doing that. He has 2 clones, or at least 2, probably more, currently going around. One looking up books in the library, and others looking for specific individuals who might know what Weiss is. Specifically Finn. He's been trying to ask around about him, but Finn has gone missing. That's when Will goes, wait, so you're helping me and you're also doing research at the exact same time? First off, that's amazing that you can do that you can control your clones at long distance. But also, why are you going through so much trouble for me? And Julius's response is basically, because it's for my own benefit. I'm using you to get ahead. Plus, I already made a promise to you, and as a noble, I will keep that promise. That's when Will realizes, yeah, Julius does keep all of his promises, even the ones he made about Dora and the dwarves. That's when Will says Julius is nice. Julius is thrown aback about this because, what do you mean he's nice? And Will's response is, well, everyone shows their kindness in a different way. Clannette looked after him, Professor Walkner scolded him, Thawne did his own thing, and you keep your word because of your honor as a nobleman. But in each way, you do this for someone else because you're kind. And that's when Julius gets pissed off, walks away. And the reason for this is because we end up going to a flashback where Julius is a child, and there's this servant at his estate that calls him kind over and over again. And the young Julius asked her, "Do you like me if I'm kind?" And she says, "Of course, we all like you when you're kind." And it's clear Julius fell in love with her and thought that if he was kind, she would fall in love with him. But then we skip ahead again to a wedding, and I'm going to assume it's her wedding. And so that's when Julius learned that being kind gets you nothing in life. The only way you can get ahead is by stepping on other people, which is a really fucked up thing for a small child to learn just because you had your heart broken by a woman who's clearly too old for you. I'm just going to point that out. I know Julius was a little messed up in the head, but Jesus, dude. So Julius continues wandering around after leaving Will, and he actually gets lost in the colorless city. And that's when he's attacked by 3 individuals, all colorless as well. The reason for this is because of Kurt. He basically promised them that he would accept them and move them up into coloreds if they take care of those 2 little problems. Obviously being Julius and Will. Unfortunately for Julius, he has been training this entire time, plus he's got his clones running around, so he's completely drained of magic, plus he's outnumbered. So in every factor possible, he's getting his ass kicked, and there's really nothing he can do to fight back. But even then, he still continues to insult and mock them, because he remembers these 3 people, because one was his senior, one was in the same year as him, and the third one was his junior. And all 3 of them were able to move up ahead before graduation because they all created a unique spell. But as soon as they got up ahead, they basically fizzled out and became colorless. And so for years now, they've basically been treated as garbage, is the best way to put it. They're just stuck there as stepping stones and gears in a machine to help out mages above them in the tower, while they're basically stuck rotting and rusting away like they don't even matter. And so they're just desperate to move ahead. Julius mocked for everything that they are, for being so desperate to move ahead. He's actually disgusted by the fact that they would fall for something so idiotic as this. And to the very end, he continues to mock them, even though he can't fight back, he can't do anything, he's out of magic. And as you can imagine, these 3 mages snap and then launch an attack at Julius. And I would not be surprised if this attack actually would have killed Julius, or at least put him in the hospital for a while, because it is a massive attack, and the only reason why he survives it is because Will comes out of nowhere and cuts it down with his sword. Julius is then confused why Will would come and save him, but Will's response is, "Well, I can't just abandon someone who's been nice to me." And that's when Julius sees the face of the servant that he was in love with. The mixing ideas of both Will and this woman really piss Julius off, and he punches him in the face. As the 2 begin to argue, the 3 mages then decide, okay, this is our chance, let's take them both out, because that's why we're here. But that's when a third party decides to step in, a witch named Sertwin. She's a member of the Fire faction, and she scares off the colorless and to save Will and Julius. And not just that, but she offers the 2 of them to be their master. Yeah, seriously, this random woman just appears out of nowhere and decides that she's going to recruit these 2 to train under her. I would say this is a lucky break, but I have a feeling Finn might be involved in this. I mean, he did say he plans on getting involved in Will's life, and I have a feeling Finn likes to call in favors when it's time. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you can enjoy more Wistoria and other amazing things. Thank you, and have a great day.